We live in a twilight world. Let's do a quick recording. It's spring here. Spring has finally sprung. And it's amazing how quick the temperature just shoots up into double figures. Like it's according to my car thermometer, it's 15 degrees. It's weird how it becomes spring and it's like someone's flicked a switch and the temperature just straight away shoots up. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that doing videos in my car is actually quite hard work when it's this hot, because it gets quite hot in the car. So we need to make these videos quick. So anyway, I got a question here from Jojo73, and it says, if I may ask some questions, Les. I wonder if there was a ferry/boat to Gaza. I know it's a distance. And there was actually a lot more to this question, but it was in unrelated things. So I'm just going to focus on this part, because this is in regards to my failed attempts to get into Israel, and then of course Gaza. My little documentary was called Welcome to Limbo Part 1 and Part 2. And by the way, man, like, I've got a lot of positive feedback about these videos I made. A lot of positive feedback. So it just goes to show, like, even though you might have failed on your original intention, you can always just flip it into a positive. And it's always about doing that, I think, in life. It's always about whatever, even if it's really bad, a bad thing or a failed thing, you've always got to flip it into seeing it as a positive. That's a little life hack right there. So yeah, man, this was well received. Yeah, anyway, so to the question, could I have got a ferry and boat across? So let's just look at a map. For people that don't know, maybe people haven't seen that little documentary. From all my, investigation and research prior to getting there, my best option was Cyprus, which is only like a 1 hour flight from Tel Aviv. Of all of the flights that were there was no flights happening. This is the thing. If you'd have went online, there would have been a lot of phantom flights, i.e. yes, there was flights online. You could have paid for the flight, but the flight itself didn't actually ever take off. It got cancelled last minute. The only flights that I saw that were actually taking off and landing were from Larnaca into Tel Aviv. So that's why I went to Cyprus. Now, obviously, Cyprus is obviously a red flag. This is obviously a British-run unsinkable aircraft carrier that sits here over the shoulder of the Middle East. Obviously, the RAF are there. On Mount Olympus, it's got this huge satellite system or some kind of surveillance device on Mount Olympus. Olympus, gods of Olympus. And yeah, I speculate a lot of the theatrics and deception will be coming out of here by the hidden hand and the British military, who the role of the British military is to be the puppet masters of every war. That's why they're there, involved in every war. But anyway, back to what I was talking about. Yeah, so there were phantom flights all day long. Okay, if you were at the time, if you'd have went online, you would have saw there were flights all day long going into Israel. But they didn't actually take off, like I said. I learned this the hard way. The first flight I bought was from London to Antalya in Turkey, and then the second leg would have been into Tel Aviv. Obviously, the first part went, the second part didn't. It got cancelled, like all flights into Tel Aviv were. Because at the time that I was looking to go to Israel was a time that allegedly Israel was under attack from Hamas. This was the beginning of the war. With me, when it comes to an illusion operation that's going on, you have to smash that illusion at the time. There's no point going there after the illusion has set place and the hypnosis has taken over that part of the world. You've got to break the illusion as it's happening. So yeah, the initial illusion operation was this concept of an organization called Hamas were attacking the country of Israel and civilians and stuff, which is obviously all theatrics and deception. So yeah, And what was annoying was so many people would say, but there's loads of, because I couldn't get in to Israel, but people were saying, but there's loads of flights. I just went online, but no one was actually purchasing the flights and realizing that all those flights were getting cancelled. Or another thing you can do is actually go and look at the airport website itself, where it's got incoming flights and that, or go on Flight Tracker and you'll see all them flights were actually cancelled. But this, in my opinion, is one of their tactics to fuck up people like me, you know, guerrilla journalists, citizen journalists, independent journalists. I don't even know if I like the term journalist. I'm not really a journalist. I'm just someone that goes to a place with a camera and looks for signs of an engineered event. That's what I do. I'm not really a journalist, but you get what I'm saying, all right? So yeah, I lost a lot of money in booking flights that were getting cancelled, and there was even the gamble of the flight going straight from London to Tel Aviv, which was around 400 quid, because it was with people like, it was with Virgin Atlantic, just Virgin and Israel Air, and this was obviously higher end travel. So and all of them flights eventually got cancelled anyway, so I would have lost 400, because the thing is, the cheap flights I was booking through third-party organisations like Kayak and Skyscanner, and they couldn't give me a refund. So I've got money now lost, or still with those organisations. They don't give it back straight for you. They don't give it back straight away for you to go and book your next flight. You've got to go through a whole process of, trying to claim back the money and all that kind of shit. If I would have took that first half of the journey into Turkey, I wouldn't have got that back either. So, yeah, man. Good way for people like me that haven't got a lot of funds, that are on a budget, to totally fuck us up from the beginning by losing us money. Very clever when you think about it. And I wish people, instead of just assuming because they see a flight online that exists, would actually, look further into it and see that, one of the first things the Hidden Hand does when they're engineering a war or an event, is they make sure they traffic, they design it so, to be an evacuee out of that area, they will happily, gladly get you out of there. Someone coming in, independent, to go and investigate, no way, they'll shut the doors straight away. And they do that with, like, what I'm talking about. So anyway, back to Jojo73's actual question. Could I have not just got a ferry or boat across into Israel? And the answer is no. From what I was looking at, there was no legitimate ferries or boats going across, right? At the time, this whole area was being patrolled by the Royal Navy, the US Navy, and the Israeli Navy, in regards to stopping any kind of, allegedly, the story goes, to stop any backdoor entry of Hamas or any Hamas affiliates. But really, that would have been stopping people like me just getting a boat. I guess I could have jumped on a fucking jet ski and perhaps took a chance, but, strategic location. It's all about blocking unwanted eyes getting into these places, okay? The only legitimate ferry I seen was going up into Turkey, and then, of course, I would have had to have then, purchased a motorbike or something, which I didn't really have the funds to do, and motorbiked my way through Syria, down through Lebanon. The problem is, here at the border of Lebanon and Israel is a UN contingent, peacekeeping contingent. Right now, I believe it's the Irish military that are in charge of it. But yeah, there's a whole UN operation here monitoring the border. So, yeah, again, on the off chance I would have had the money to buy a motorbike, I would have got here quick enough, I would have then had another brick wall. So, I could have then perhaps maybe snuck in, and so on. But, and here's the thing, and obviously all these things crossed my mind, okay? And obviously the other thing would have been to go to, Larnaca Bay and speak to people with sailing boats or whatever, and, seeing if they would have wanted to perhaps sail me down through. But I didn't bother because I know for a fact, like, they want money, right? For a guy to put themselves at risk, like I said, yeah, these oceans were being patrolled by the Royal Navy, the US Navy, and the Israeli Navy. You've also got an RAF base here in Akatori, another RAF base. These are British airfields here. And then, of course, on Mount Olympus, you've got the giant satellite surveillance system being run by the British military, which, of course, would cover all of this area. You've got to remember what Cyprus really is. Cyprus is a unsinkable British aircraft carrier sitting on the shoulder of the Middle East. And this is where, like I've speculated before in other videos, all the theatrics and deception are being run out from. So yes, it might have appeared like Israel was under attack from Hamas, but it would have been the RAF or the Ghost Legion just shooting fireworks over populated cities and so on. Okay, and then blaming Hamas. But yeah, anyone with a boat would obviously be registered with some sort of Cyprus Maritime Association or whatever, some sort of maritime, to have a boat and to dock your boat in Larnaca, you'd have to have some kind of, maritime whatever, and they would have got emails, right, and notifications saying, at this moment in time, due to the conflict in Israel and with Palestine and Gaza, do not go in these waters by any means. Do not go in these waters, stay away, blah, blah, blah. So the point I'm trying to make is, realistically, would I have been able to get a fishing boat across there? Probably not. And asking a local fisherman to do that, he would have wanted a lot of money, and I don't really have the money. This is the whole thing. I'm on a budget. And I was still holding out hope that the flights that were still taking place from Larnaca Airport to Tel Aviv, that I was going to be allowed on. Because those flights, this is the whole reason I went to Cyprus, is because of all the flights, these were the only actual flights that were still taking off and landing in Tel Aviv, where the other ones weren't. They existed online, but they were phantom flights. They weren't actually landing. That's the whole reason I went to Cyprus. And if people don't know, I went to the airport and the Mossad guys running the check-in desk just straight up said, no, you're not coming on this plane. And they, gave it the whole bullshit. You haven't got 2 passports. I mean, who the fuck has 2 passports? Allegedly, you've got to have 2 passports if you go to Tel Aviv. But that was an excuse. You haven't got 2. Because you haven't got your second passport, which doesn't exist. Nobody has a second passport. You can't come. I mean, the thing is, okay, let's go back to the photos, is regarding, guerrilla journalism, guerrilla investigation, illusion warfare reporting, we follow the same principles as actual guerrilla warfare. And you've got to remember, I'm not like a YouTuber trying to be famous. I'm not some like YouTuber just trying to put myself in dangerous situations to get clicks and views. I'm generally trying to hunt down the hidden hand and provide proof to people that there is a hidden hand engineering all of these world stage events. And that's what I do. I go to these places and I look for red flags and evidence that clearly this is not just some organic thing that's just magically started happening, but it's actually a well-organized event that's planned, and we look for the signs of that. But back to this whole thing here, guerrilla journalism and guerrilla warfare. The second one here, never engage in any operation unless you think success is certain. Break off the action as soon as it becomes too risky to continue. And we look at 3. Every operation must be planned with the greatest care. A safe line of retreat is essential. So if we go back to the map, the problem of me sneaking in to these countries is I haven't had my passport stamped. Yeah, I'm now in the areas of sneaking into a country with no way of getting the fuck out, okay? And that's where it kind of, as we were just looking at, it kind of goes against the kind of principles of guerrilla warfare. You've got to have a safe line of retreat back out. There's a big difference between me sneaking in to a country illegally and creating problems than me just flying in and playing the role of a dumb tourist. I'm just a dumb tourist accidentally in a war zone, but at least I've gone there legally. I've had my passport stamped. I've gone through all the airports and stuff. For me, it's not enough. You know, I make about £100 a month on Patreon, you know, and the vast majority of people out there don't have a fucking clue about what I'm talking about. There's no real kind of gain or incentive for me to be arrested or locked up by Mossad in Israel or by MI5 over in Ukraine or whatever, you know. It's not that worth it for me, you know. It has to be a nice, and it also has to be fun. When it gets to the point where it's putting myself at risk, getting arrested and all that kind of shit, you know, all throughout my 20s I was getting arrested and getting in trouble. I don't ever want to be stuck in a police cell ever again, you know. So it's just not worth it for me. So to answer Jojo73's question, like, possibly if I had a ridiculous amount of funds, not only the funds to pay a sailor to risk his life, my life, getting across here, but also the funds to pay for a legal team to get me out of any trouble, sure, I would have done it. But as long as I'm on a budget person that doesn't really care, I'm not going to fucking go to these lengths. I'm not that bothered, to be honest with you. That's the truth of it. This here is essential. This here is clever. This here is smart. You know, we got to live to fight another day. The whole point of guerrilla journalism, or like I said, illusion warfare reporting, is we got to not only look for evidence, we've also got to make the hidden hand look stupid. We've got to show people how ridiculous all of this is. You know, me getting arrested in the middle of an ocean by an RAF patrol boat, or getting pulled aside as I'm trying to leave Israel, it goes against all of this, okay? It goes against all of it. So it's worth kind of, if you've got time, like looking up guerrilla warfare tactics and being realistic about, you know, these things. Here's another one. Look, I mean, just all of these are just... These are, when I read these, they are just actually common sense, okay? If you're snooping around on someone else's game board, all of this applies, and it's all common sense. There's nothing really profound about this. It's just common sense. Never carry incriminating documents on your persons, nor leave them where they can be found. Like the fact I'm walking around with my Twitter account on my phone, all they've got to do is open up my phone, look at my Twitter account, and that's it. They know who I am. Oh, you're that fucker that goes to these places and creates problems. Anyway, my car's getting really hot now, to the point where it's too distracting to talk. We live in the twilight world. There are no friends at dusk.